This meeting to order. Thank you all for being here. We've got two purposes for this meeting. Public safety building addition projects. And with that, I'll turn it over to our city manager, Greg Patterson.
Thank you, Mayor. And just to remind everyone, we're going to let Kelly and Emma with Barbara McMurray go first. But just to rewind a little bit, is in the 2023-24 budget, there was money appropriated for a public safety addition for the design of that project. So Kelly and his team over the last year has been putting together that project. So they're here today to present their design to you guys, and then after they're finished, to talk about how the funding mechanism to get this project started. So Kelly, Emma, you have the floor. And let me say, they've worked really, really hard with our two chiefs to put together what you all will see, a really good design that helps each of those departments get more space. They haven't had any expansion since, I guess, the late 80s when City Hall was built. So as the inventory, as you'll hear from Kelly and those guys, is they've been out of space for some time, and a lot of the offices are currently being used as closets and things like that with our current staffing. But Kelly, I'll turn it over to you.
Well, again, thanks for having us tonight. We've got a quick presentation. We're going to show you where the design has ended up. We're in the middle of construction documents. Currently, we've been working with some of your staff to finalize interior material selections, that sort of thing. Again, I'm Kelly Hedden, one of the architects. Annie Palmer is one of our associates, and she is our project manager for this project. So, again, thanks for having me. I'm going to use old technology. I gave up on the new stuff. We're calling it the Public Services Complex, but basically there are two components. There's a fairly significant renovation component. Greg has already mentioned fire department. We're doing a little bit with the police department. We're doing a little bit to tie in to this facility. And then the principal part of the project is the new construction of a central component that really ties your entire city complex together into one functional building. Be one main entry. You come in, security, reception, checkpoint is right there. The commission chamber, the courtroom will be to your left. We'll go through that. City Hall will be to your right, and then again the fire department's to your left. 8,300 square feet of total renovation, just shy of 25,000 square feet of new construction. One of the nice parts about the new construction and the way that the plans have all come together, when you build it, there are still some unassigned offices, a little bit of expansion. That way, when you're building this facility on day one, you're not already busting at the seams. You've got a little capacity to grow in. The advantages of things, too, is it is going to free use of this space into that building to be able to renovate this over time, to either expand departments, have more conference meeting space, whatever the city needs, you'll be able to do those things. So quickly in this, in the site plan, we still have the same main entry coming in off of the highway, but we're going to switch the way that the traffic works here. We're going to bring cars in, so when you pull in, you can allow people to get out of the passenger side so you can drop people off, come around and switch the parking in front, main entry here, new construction in yellow, essentially a fully renovated fire department and a new connection and renovations to this part of the City Hall. I'm going to show you the main level plan first. I mentioned one new entry. You come in, there's a reception area here with connection to City Hall. We can make this a new conference space. You can leave it as a secondary entry. We think you may want to sort of secure the facility and have everybody come in, but it still leaves you some options. But you come in right, left, you're waiting for the courts or commission. With courts and commission happening here, a drastically expanded seating capacity with a large information wall with audio-visual, along here, audio-visual wall here, audio-visual wall here, storage, so that when you're switching out tables, chairs, working things out there, and then a nice raised area similar to this for plenty of people. There's handicap accessibility to that raised area, and then you can bring food in, you can cater it. Entry to the fire department is right here with their offices. Here, cleaning up the truck bay, get all of the stuff that's lining the walls out of the way. In an emergency situation, it's tough them getting in and out, getting all of their equipment. So now their gear comes to here with lockers. There's other equipment storage here. We're moving the laundry, we're moving all of the stuff that's in the middle of that bay now out and around, cleaning things up, having a more formalized men's sleeping quarters, a formalized women's sleeping quarters. We still have their training area. So this is the main level of things. There's an elevator core with stairs here, public toilets in that area. Lower level of the facility, the current parking is along the back of this. Again, the front, the highway up in front here, this is one level down. So again, the elevator, the stair, the current parking, we're actually building over it. There will be columns here with a new formal entry into the police department. An entry into here for the back way for people to park and staff to go into the building. A large training room, multi-purpose community space here with some restrooms, another restroom for people coming in and out, training storage, a few expanded office facilities in here, a new reception area, reworking the way this works for the police department to streamline both their staff and the way that the public interacts with them. Going all the way up to the upper level then, it's kind of an open area, so you'll be able to see here there is a grand monumental stair at the end to tie this level. There is office and plans review space here. This is open to the large commission chamber emergency operations area with a conference space here. In an emergency situation, you've got all of your information walls going and highlighted. People can break out, come up here, meet, and still see what's going on down in the chambers below. Expansion space here, restrooms, toilet, storage, expansion space, and you've got a little storage and expansion space there. Then the overall facility is beginning to tie in. Stone that matches this is along the front of the facility, heavy timbers to begin to tie it into some of the newer facilities, some of your trolley stops, what you're doing at Rocky Top Sports World, and then a main identifiable entry to bring you into the facility there. I know that's a quick, sort of a 1,000-foot overview. Any questions, comments?
I'm just glad you designed it with the room to grow, because a lot of times stuff designed just for that moment. I think it's very good.
Well, this is a big investment. It's tough. It's not something that the city of Gatlinburg's gone into lightly. You haven't done something like this in a long time. And you really don't need to be at 100% capacity when you move in. You need a little room to grow. You probably got 4 or 5 offices that you can expand into, not counting this space when you reassign it later and decide what you want to do as you kind of see the function and flow of the way things are working. Do you need more conference space? Do you need more office space? I think it leaves you lots of options for your future.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you.
Robert, you want to talk to about the funding, what we put together for that? Explain that.
Yes, for the funding of the public safety. Yeah, let me pass this out. I'll give it to you. Yeah, it's a little bit different. We kind of separate them, broken out a little bit there, just to kind
That's the
of.
same one's in your pack there, we just separated
We just
it out.
kinda
Just
separated
this solely this one, then we'll give you one for the water too.
You're welcome. And we've kind of touched on this a little bit before, but this kind of separates the two projects that we're talking about today, the plan that we feel like would work well for the city is for the calendar year 2025. We can issue debt to cover $5 million of this and also use $5 million of available fund balance from the general fund for the first year funding of $10 million. So it's expected to be all the project. The next year, in 2026, we can issue another $5 million of money, of debt from the general fund. This is 20-year term. And then we've got a couple options for using fund balance from the general fund and or the CIP fund. And of course, it may change a little bit in the second year, but this is where we see probably is a good prognosis of where we can fund this project over the next 2 years. A combination of $10 million in debt, and then using $9 million in fund balance. So we're up to that. So, and that would that would leave very healthy fund balances in both of our main funds that we propose to use, the general fund and the CIP fund, which the city is always kept well above the GASB recommended rate, and this would still leave us well above their recommendations of 3 months of operating expenditures. So you can see there we broke it down into calendar year 25, calendar year 26, and then there's a summary down there that basically says it's a debt issuance of $10 million over 2 years, and also usage of a combination of CIP fund balance and the general fund balance of up to $9 million. So does that make sense? If you have any questions about that, I'd be happy to try to.
Have you checked what the current bond rates are?
Yeah,
What
we've
they're
had.
preliminary, just roughly today.
Yeah,
Because
we've had Cumberland Securities give us an estimate. It's somewhere right now, it's still below 4%, and so and probably the rates maybe look.
It's probably gonna be better.
Yeah, dropping some more. So the time we issue any more debt, it's probably going to go down. So we feel like, and of course, he was a little bit aggressive just to be conservative. So this is we feel like this is a reasonable estimation of how we can fund the project.
We'll probably be around 375.
Yeah, that's what I'm
That's what I'm
thinking.
guessing.
High threes,
What I
probably.
remember looking at.
That's
But
what they've issued the last.
on our fund balance right now, we are getting paid pretty good on our balances right now. Is our interest rate still the same on our fund balances right now?
As far as what we
were getting paid before, have they dropped any? Where are they at now?
well, they're still in the high fours. I mean, as
Okay.
far as what we're getting, we have a very good arrangement with our
Right.
banking institution. Plus, we have, Greg and I've talked, and we have moved a little bit of money to the local government investment pool,
Yeah.
Tennessee, because they were paying a couple percentage points more.
Right.
We had some investments, and as they matured, we felt like, obviously we want to get as much interest as we can, so we have moved $5 million there to that.
And I'm sure,
Tennessee.
and I'm sure you've all looked at this, but I hate when we don't owe that much based on our spending, our funding. I mean, we're pretty dang strong. But if we can borrow at 375 and have fund balances over 4, why would we want to use our own cash when we get a better interest rate when we're making money on our money? If we're getting paid 0.5% more to keep in the bank, why would we pull money out of our accounts or funds?
And that's an
To do.
excellent point, Chad, and I think that's why we're doing this staggered financing to see, where we're at this fall, this time next year,
Mhm.
for our secondary, to see, do we need to take it from fund balance, or do we need to borrow the money, so that way we're not.
I would suggest to go ahead, if we can get down to 375, to go ahead and borrow the $10 million on the front end and then put our money in the back end.
Well, and we're breaking, the reason we're doing, trying to do this approach is because obviously we're gonna talk about the water treatment plant as well, which will be another $5 million. And of course, we wanna, if we can keep our borrowing at 10 million or less, if it's bank qualified, so it gives us a better interest rate. So
Yeah.
that's the reason we've always tried. And it used to didn't matter as much with interest rates as low as they've been, but now they're still, with the recommendation of our financial advisors, is like if you can keep it below 10 million, if you don't have to borrow more than 10 million, just keep it at 10 million or below.
Well, if you keep it on the front end, you're not paying interest either.
Yeah.
Yeah, my thing is I'd rather borrow it all on the front end and use our money on the back end, because there's gonna be overruns. And if we have to pay off the $5 million on the sewer plant, let's pay it off later. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I would on a business standpoint, I'm looking at it, it's hard for me to say, let's go spend our own money when we can get a better deal by keeping our money and borrowing the money on $10 million today. We're throwing away money is all we're doing, and that's
But
not.
not if we're not, if we use our own money up front, we're not paying interest.
Right.
So
Yeah,
you're saving that interest until you have to borrow it.
Yeah.
So where does that, there's gotta be a,
Yeah,
that's gotta equal out a little bit.
excuse me, it's just the fact that we find ourselves in this position because we have such healthy call to in 2001. If we decide if we want to pay them off early, we can. It's not like we're locked in for the 20 or 25-year term, so we make sure that we have that option to pay them off early if we can. But the goal was to stay within the bank qualified to get the cheaper interest, or it's worth maybe a half a point or something. And then because we have such healthy fund balances, to look at this approach, at least a 2-year approach, and like Greg said, the second year, we'll look at, this is just a proposal for the second year. The second year could be a little bit different. We may say, hey, listen, let's just go ahead and
Do the
Okay.
rest. And in this budget here, which Kelly and the staff done a good job putting this budget together, but we are receiving requests for proposals for a construction manager, which they had a pre-bid meeting today, and we had quite a few contractors here. 7. So we had 7 contractors here. So once we get them on board, then they will start really diving in pricing things. So we're hoping that we're gonna beat this number. But this number is with furnishings, contingency, and everything. So we feel like this is the highest number at this point.
Yeah, the
have
county,
any surprises.
Yes.
Greg, the
Yes.
county EOC did under budget about 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
And so we're seeing numbers level out, and with 7 people interested, we're hoping that they get very competitive with their fees and aggressive with their schedules, so that get you in quicker and save your monies as well.
Does anybody else have any questions or remarks? All right. Hearing none, Kelly, thank you, Amy. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much for allowing us to continue to work with you. We really
Oh,
appreciate it.
You all put together a great design. I know, like I mentioned before, you all worked really hard with the chiefs and put together, and it's been a difficult project to try to connect 2 buildings and to make 3 buildings into one, and you guys have done that and delivered a very good, workable, functional space. So
Yeah,
thank
the
you.
office has done a great job, so thanks.
What's the process from here to completion?
Okay.
What's,
So, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Kelly, so what we're getting proposals into sometime, let's call it around the 1st of February. Then on the February agenda, we will be recommending, working through Kelly and vetting out the proposals from the contractors to make a recommendation for you all to approve in February as a contractor. Then it'll go to the Public Building Authority for them to approve. And once that happens, we're hoping to break ground somewhere, would you think April, May-ish, best case scenario?
All of them today were asking schedules and when they could kick off, and that's roughly when they thought would be ideal. Everybody coming out of spring, trying to get work through the spring and summer, and kicking off then would really help their bidding too.
And if you all,
construction time?
I think it's a 16-month project, but we have asked them to look at it and tell us based on that, and then the city's willingness to relocate the fire department during the construction has dramatically reduced the time, so they may even be able to do better than what we're thinking, but we're asking them to tell us, but we're guessing somewhere around 16 months.
and with that's a good point as well, as Chief Cole's been working with Public Works Director Roger Sims and staff to move where we've added some of these metal buildings that's our storage down at Public Works that we haven't occupied yet, is to be able to move the fire department down there and utilize those to be able to put the fire trucks and ambulances and things like that, to be able to move them out while the renovations are happening.
It was a game changer for the construction firms.
Any other questions, comments? I want to thank both chiefs for working in the limited area you've had, and look forward to this new addition. It's going to be great.
Yep, exciting times.
Thank you.
They've been great to work with too, so a lot of the credit goes to them and looking hard at what we're showing them and talking about options. They've been great to work with.
Thank you, guys, appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Next, we have Corey and Zach, and they're with LDA Engineering, and they are the engineers of the water treatment plant addition, renovations, and Dale, see you back here? Would you care just to, Dale's gonna give a scenario or give an update of where we're at, how we got to where we're at. Sure. And then turn it over to these guys if you would, Dale.
While he's getting set up, absolutely, as we're all aware, just to repeat the obvious for us locals here, our water plant facility built in 1950, 1 million gallons a day, upgraded in 1965 to 2 million gallons a day. And we've been operating very well, but it's time to upgrade again. We have found out through some engineering analysis that we can up our treatment capacity and production of drinking water at that facility, within the facility, to about 3 million gallons a day, nominal production. So that's another 1 million gallons per day. That's a 50% increase over where we are now. So in looking closely at that, we have gone to our regulatory officials. We have obtained both our TDEC permit for the increased withdrawal from the river. That has been approved. We have also received our TVA permit to withdraw that increased amount from the river at that location. Of course, as you know, as you visited there just a few months back, we are located on the west prong of the Little Pigeon River. There is a nominal amount of water there, but there is enough. Our studies have shown that there is enough water through about 95% of the year to increase that withdrawal and that treatment capacity at that facility. So we have gone through the permitting process and we have those permits. And so recently, we have, since we talked to you last, we have operated 2 pilot treatment facilities of this new membrane technology that we talked to you about before. One was very successful, the other was moderately successful. And so we feel excited about this type of treatment facility, this potential for this improved treatment process at our treatment plant. This would be a big step, as we've said before, into a better treatment facility and upgraded equipment and upgraded membrane filtration technology. You want to talk about numbers now, or do you want to wait till we're done?
Let's do that at the conclusion.
Yeah, absolutely. So as City Manager said here, we have Corey Newman and Zach Daniel from LDA Engineering and Associates, and we'll let them take it from here.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys giving us a little bit of time. So a little more formal introduction. As he said, I'm Corey Newman and Principal Engineering Client Service Lead out of our Knoxville office. So right here, your next door neighbors. And I'll let Zach introduce.
Zach Daniel, I'm president of LDA Engineering. Long history of water treatment plant. Before I came over to LDA about 9 months ago, I was been involved with water plants across the state and the region, both in North Carolina and Tennessee, and excited to be here with you all.
If I could make a real quick point, is Zach and Corey both are engineers on the city, county water board that's doing our intake renovations out at the lake, and then our another water line that we're going to run from the lake to Pigeon Forge Water Treatment Plant. So they're our engineers, and that's where I got to know these guys as well. And then we spent a lot of time with Dale, Mike Leatherwood, Roger Sims, meeting with these guys to talk about their background, their vision, and then their, of course, now our agent engineering of record for this expansion.
Right. Well, so I want to start off by talking a little bit about ourselves, give you guys some familiarity. It may not be as exciting as that really cool project you guys just looked at, but we'll go through it anyway. So about LDA, so we've been deeply rooted and committed within the community within East Tennessee. We started in 1982 out of Alcoa. And then since then, we've always been a water, wastewater, utilities engineering group. And we still work out of Alcoa next to the airport now. We also have opened up a new office in North Carolina and then hold offices in Johnson City, Chattanooga, and Nashville, and Memphis. So the core of where we operate is in Tennessee and always has been. And additionally, as Greg has mentioned, we've been working within Sevier County for a long time and really appreciate the opportunity. And really happy and grateful to work in this community. So the culture at LDA Engineering, our why, our mission, what we do. So our core values: we're curious, we're committed, we're responsible, we're courageous, we're hungry, and we engineer. That's the technical lingo term, but our why is rooted deep in community, and it takes place in building. I've been with LDA now for 7 years, going on 7 years now, and the best aspect that I've found working at LDA is the fact that we're nimble. So we've worked a lot within Tennessee and different communities across the state, but we find our value in being able to break down walls and progress a lot faster. And working with Greg and Roger and Dell, seeing they have that same mindset on moving forward with some of the initial initiatives that they've taken place with the permitting agencies as well. We just think it's a really good fit to work with the city of Gatlinburg. So let's talk briefly about our water treatment plant experience. So you'll see over 200 projects at 25 different water treatment plant facilities is the experience held by our staff that we have, which we're at about 90 employees right now. And a lot of experience on a lot of different type of projects and projects similar to exactly what you guys are looking to undertake now. So project success, that's what we want. I think that's what you guys want, and that's the focus that we're trying to push through. So risk mitigation is obviously a key aspect of any project, but specifically a project of this nature with critical infrastructure, with reliability is at the utmost of need. So mitigated, what we've already come across and what Dell had mentioned, that the fact that you guys have already been ahead of the game and worked with TDEC and TVA to obtain these permits to go from 2 million to 3 million gallons per day. That's a really big step. It's something what Greg was talking about with the Pigeon Forge project. It's a battle that you face for quite a while, specifically with TVA and getting those permits. So that's already on its way, and the risk is managed there. Ongoing monitoring will be done to ensure that the contractor complies with all regulatory guidelines. The last thing we want is people or regulatory agencies bouncing back during construction. And then coordination with all appropriate agencies throughout design, construction, close out of the project, making sure that we get all those approvals that we need. Contractor selection risk. So the bidding process will focus on selecting a qualified contractor with experience in water treatment plant construction. We'll evaluate those proposals. We do think there's a lot of value in obviously looking at the qualifications as well as the price, especially with a project of this nature. Operational disruption during construction. So as we talked about, it's critical. You want to do this 2 million gallons a day. I think Gatlinburg's fortunate to have an interconnected system the way that Sevier County works as a whole, working with Pigeon Forge and other neighboring communities to be able to get some additional water from them. But obviously we want to minimize that during construction, and the way we do that is phase construction, so we can keep the plant operational as much as we possibly can. And then detailed maintenance of plant operations will be developed in coordination with your all's operations staff to ensure that planning is in place before any construction commences. So we're going to make sure that throughout the entire process that you guys have a say throughout each step, because what you guys want at the end of the day is what you guys should receive. So the design process and how this will look. So we'll start research, evaluate the plant from the discharge point to the intake point, evaluating capacity from that point forward. And then we'll brainstorm. We'll evaluate various improvements, considerations to determine both the most cost-effective and beneficial solution to the city of Gatlinburg. And then we'll develop a plan and specifications to direct the contractor on how to implement the design at the water treatment plant. I think you'll hear me, I've got this theme over and over. Working with the contractor is really important, especially in this market with the type of contractors we want to get involved. And then making sure it's a trusted contractor at the end of the day whenever we select them. And then we'll initiate it. LDA will be with you guys through each step of this, working with the contractor. And then once the contractor's done, we want to make sure that it's a seamless transition into the new operation of a water treatment plant. The last thing we want is for the operators to feel like they're left high and dry. And it's a new system, there's going to be a lot going on. So project timeline. So the existing plant evaluation we talked about, we're looking months 1 through 3, getting a detailed layout of what it can progress into that design phase. But in that evaluation phase, we'll conduct a comprehensive assessment through survey measurements, spend a lot of time at the water treatment plant making sure we've got everything nailed down where it is and how that replacement schedule will look. And then we'll evaluate the plant process to optimize the overall performance. So the detailed design phase will be months 4 through 10, and then we'll complete the design documentation for the plant upgrades, including the system upgrades, as well as plus the specifications for the documents. And then we'll prepare the bid documents to get the contractor on board once we're at that 100% phase. As we're continuing to work with these permitting agencies through this process. Also in the detailed design phase, we'll have a little bit more knowledge of what this project's going to look like, and we'll have a much more detailed cost estimate at that point too. And then project bidding will happen in the months 11 and 12 range. We'll issue the construction package, including the project specifications, design, and timelines, and then we'll evaluate those bids from those contractors, not only on price, but quals as well, to make sure that we're getting the best fit for you guys to construct this project. So we'll talk about new technology. So Dell had mentioned the fact that you guys have actually performed a couple pilots at your water treatment plant. And talking with these guys, the results seem really promising. So what you'll see over here on the left is more conventional filtration. Rapid sand is typically what they call it. So one of the reasons that this upgrade's possible, if you guys, I'm sure you all have been to the water treatment plant, it's kind of a tight area out there. Well, with the new technologies that have progressed in the last 20 years, such as ceramic plate membrane filtration, which is what you see on the right, is you're able to implement this technology within new and existing footprints. So those filter bays that you have on the left can be refurbished or rehabilitated to be able to fit the ceramic plate filtration within it to gain that additional capacity. And then at that point, we'll continue looking at pumps, piping to make sure that there's no other constraining points within the water treatment plant to serve the distribution system to be able to get out that 3 million gallons per day. So that's all we had to talk about. Do you guys have any questions for us or any thoughts?
I guess my only question is, with your past experience, does this look like a easier or a harder job?
Well, I think the main thing, like Corey mentioned, with any job in an existing plant, the maintenance of operations is always the key. In this case, the fact that as we've talked with the staff, as you're able to go through, we think we can stage the filter replacements with the new ceramic membranes in a manner where they can keep most of the existing capacity, as Corey mentioned, while they're working through, while you're replacing, and then transition over. I think the biggest thing is just assuring, as Corey mentioned, that the hydraulics through the plant, et cetera, are all set up for a situation where you can pass that new additional flow. But the fact that it can fit in the same exact footprint within the existing bays and be able to just figuring out how to stage that, working with the equipment vendor and the contractor will be key.
It's a very doable project.
How long do you think it's gonna take you to build, start to finish then?
that's a little bit hard at this point. The biggest, the longest sort of unknown at this juncture is the manufacturing time on the equipment. We have talked a little bit with Greg and with Dale and Roger about maybe the potential of looking at CMAR, another delivery method similar to what you're doing on the public services building. It is a slightly smaller job, so we're not sure exactly what level of interest you may have on sort of that smaller level. It usually, in a roundabout world, usually that $10 million range is sort of where you get some of the larger, where you get more interest on the construction side in this type of project. But it still may be a method that may be worth looking at because of the lead time on the equipment. As far as the actual construction, I think most of the work can be done in probably a year or less. It's just how long does that equipment time push you out? Dale, I don't know, or Roger, what your talks with some of the vendors up to about a year lead time, is that what you're hearing on the equipment?
Right now, about a year. One manufacturer's facility is in the United States, and we feel good about that. We're looking at the possibility of doing a site visit, a factory visit to that location. We're very interested in that. But that, you're right, Zach, the lead time for the equipment is going to be longer, as long as the construction time is.
Right, so anything we can do during the design process to potentially push that forward could help in the overall. Because otherwise what you end up with, if you wait and then bid it at the end, you're really not going to procure that equipment until you have a contractor on board. So now you're pretty limited on what you can do in that first 6 to 12 months because you're waiting on the equipment to get there to be able to install. Because you certainly do not want to take your filters down and be sitting there waiting on the equipment. There could be some hydraulic improvements in that time period, depending on what those look like, that could be done. But what we find in the water and wastewater equipment world, large-scale treatment equipment and electrical equipment really drive the construction schedule because they can take, the lead times on any of that stuff is in the 12 to 15 months now in most places.
And I'll say we'll be diligent as well as working on other hydraulics, like Zach said. Like we are anticipating that we're going to need some upgrades for the raw water pumping infrastructure, and that's something that can be taking place maybe while we're waiting on some of the equipment as well.
Good luck.
And Dale, would you care to tell them, I think this
Sure.
is important to paint the picture of what our daily average use is and what our peak times are, so we know so that will tell how important this expansion is, not even as much today, but the future gallon its growth.
Oh, absolutely. As you all are very, very well aware, our visitation has increased into this area. So the demand for water has increased also. And currently, the water treatment plant is at full maximum production every day, 24/7. So we're producing about we're producing about 2 million to 2.1 million gallons a day. There are days like in January and February now where it's slow during the week. We'll taper back a little bit to just under 2 million, maybe a million and a half or so. Now, as you're very aware, we grow so much on the weekends that the demand for water, because of our weekend visitation, is more than we can produce at the water plant. So we supplement that by purchased water from Pigeon Forge through that interconnection there on the spur. And that additional purchased water can range anywhere from 3 to 4 to 500,000 a day to as much as 1 million gallons a day, purchased water from Pigeon Forge when we're very, very busy and we need it. That would be the heaviest demand days, about 1.2 million gallons a day. So what this project will enable us to do is to curtail and cut back the amount of water that we have to purchase and pump all the way up the spur from Pigeon Forge. We'll be able to produce that ourselves, that additional 1 million gallons a day. So it'll greatly reduce what we'll need to buy from Pigeon Forge. So the cost savings from that will, over time, help to pay for this project. Now, it won't pay for it right away, of course, but over time it will, and it'll put us in a better position of mitigating that risk of having the water here in town. So producing additional water in town, along with the additional 1 million gallon storage tank that you all have approved and funded, that construction is starting on this month too, by the way, will position Gatlinburg in a much better position to have water in town for our growing demands and to reduce our risk of running out of water, which that is obviously what we're working so hard to position ourselves in a good place for. Did I answer what you said? I
That's
talked
perfect.
all
No,
around
no,
it,
no,
I
no.
believe.
Yeah.
No, I talked all around it.
Yeah, that's perfect. I
Okay.
just wanted them to know that, we would then be purchasing minimal amount of water. But years ago, and this was, when was this, the early 90s, when the raw water line was run from the lake, the city of Gatlinburg has ownership of about 30%, 35, somewhere in
34,
there,
35%.
of that raw water line. So, that's still gonna be in place, and then there's another line gonna be run for that. So I'm thinking we did some projections way out without this 1 million gallons, and it puts it way out for the future of Gatlinburg before, it puts us in great shape for the future, for
Yes.
when we're not here, long-term, for the growth of Gatlinburg, having a suitable water.
What's the, taking 3 million gallons out, what's gonna happen going down through town as far as
So,
the river level?
we won't dry up the stream. There'll still be water for the fish. So good question though. Obviously our engineering analysis, preliminary analysis that we've already worked through by reading the stream gauge levels over time, we have a data set of about 7 years, 6 or 7 years of actually looking at how much water's in the stream on a daily, a weekly, and a monthly basis. There is about 95% of the year or more, there's plenty of water to withdraw the additional 1 million to go up to the 3 million gallons and not have any negative impact on the ecological life of the river downstream. Now, when it's very, very dry, when it don't rain for 6 months and that river level drops, then there are requirements and regulatory requirements that we'll have to address at that time.
Yeah,
But we'll work through that.
We may not be able to treat 3 million
Yeah.
gallons a day during those times. And through the TDEC, TVA, and National Park, work through all these to be able to approve to get this additional 1 million gallons of water out, so it doesn't harm our streams.
Correct.
And then we're putting it back in below on the spur through
Yeah.
the wastewater. But yes, it's a great question, because I had the same thing, Vice Mayor, of how that works to ensure that our streams are still going to have plenty of water in it.
And you'll see the overall
Another
benefit.
thing too, there's 6 streams of water from the lower end of the water treatment plant, between there and the sewer plant. There's 6 significant streams of water that come into the river that doesn't even get counted in that, with the monitor that's up in the park. So we're not even affecting those streams, like the Conch Creek and the 2 streams coming off Ski Mountain Road.
The Light
Rain,
The
Baskins.
Ford, and then, but there's a lot of water, there's probably more water coming into the stream through town than we're taking out at the upper end.
Yes, I
At
think
any
you're
given
exactly
moment.
Okay.
I think you're right.
And I would just say,
And then we're putting 2/3 of it back in once it leaves the sewer plant.
although we weren't involved in that part of the process, having worked through that with other low-flow streams in the state, believe me, TDEC would never have approved taking more water out if they thought there was any impact potentially to the environmental status of that stream.
Correct.
And y'all will see the overall benefits of this increase in the time gap that you have, and a little less peak demand as well with the additional tank and having that 3 million gallons, even if it's up to a certain point before a dry period.
Good question.
Yeah.
Any other comments, questions? Thank you, fellas.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Dale, would you talk a little bit about the budget, and then Robert, you can jump in about the funding on this as well. And write that down.
Yes, so in our previous analysis and evaluation of this project, we came up with a a tentative construction budget estimate of around $4 million, give or take a little bit, probably $4 million and some change. Engineering, on top of that, 300,000 plus a little bit more as we get into construction inspection when the project actually starts, and then a little bit of contingency there. So we just put an umbrella of $5 million on this project, and that's a pretty educated estimate, detailed analysis through that estimate, and of course that could change as we go forward, but that's how we arrived at that through our previous engineering analysis.
Yep, and this is the other, this is very simple process or plan here. This is the proposed funding of this $5 million project is the other $5 million in debt that we propose to issue in 2025 for a total of $10 million. So this is a 25-year term because of the life of these projects are very significant, 40 to 50 years. So plus two, we want the water and sewer plant has to be self-sustaining, so we want to try to not to hit it any harder than we need to. So this is a very doable with the foresight a couple of years ago instituting the rate increases. This was the reason why we did that, to be able to comfortably handle these type of debt issues. So this should be, as Dale said, this is a safe estimate. So
It's just a life expense,
Yeah.
but you're only doing 20 years on this building.
Yeah.
Is there a reason or?
well, because of the health of
Clauses.
the health of the general fund and CIP fund, we typically don't try to go past 20 unless we have a really
Right.
good reason to.
Yeah.
Just because we save 5 years of interest.
Right.
You know, of course, they're both debts are callable, so we still got some flexibility there. But typically on water, sewer type of projects, we try to expand it out a little bit longer term just to make the payments lower.
Makes sense.
Everybody good? Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
It's exciting to have enough water.
New
A lot of places don't.
Yes, when you go